Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for the Buckhead Business Radio Show.
Time again already? Seems like that week just flew by. Rich Casanova here, your host for Buckhead Business Radio X. A beautiful day in Buckhead, just this amazing view and some unbelievable guests. We're very excited to get into the show. And first of all, I'm going to introduce our co-host, our guest co-host this morning, Mike Rose. How are you doing?
How you doing, Rich?
Unbelievable, yeah.
It's a great day, isn't it?
Isn't it? Right. I mean,
beautiful.
You can't go wrong in Buckhead. Yeah.
That's right. Love Buckhead.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about your business in just a second and introduce some interesting folks. But joining us in the studio, we have Colette McDonald with, she's in the real estate business. How are you doing this morning?
I'm really well, thank you.
All right, nice. And we have Smitha. Help me with your last name. I was practicing your first name. I forgot to practice your last name. Yeah.
Smitha Solanki.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. So, you're here going to be talking about food this morning, right? Yeah.
Yes, and the taste of Buckhead.
Nice. Yeah. And it's not till September, so I guess you didn't bring any samples, right? Yet it's a little early for samples.
A little early.
All right. And also joining us, Jake Sherrill is joining us here this morning. How are you doing, Jake?
Rich, good morning. I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
And you're our IT guru this morning, right?
Hopefully so. Yeah,
So-
we can talk technology today.
Nice. If anything goes wrong, ladies and gentlemen, Jake, yeah, he's right here on call in our studio. And finally, we have here joining us this morning is John Schaffner with the Buckhead View. How are you doing, John?
I'm doing fine, Rich. It is a beautiful day in
Right.
Buckhead.
What a great view. I mean, right, yeah. And speaking of that, and you're joining us again. Welcome back to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Nice. And so, Mike, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing lately here.
Well, I'm out there. For those of you who don't know, I used to be in radio a long time ago. So now that's kind of why you want to be back, because
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a radio background. But for the past 10 years, I've been in the mortgage industry, and it went really well there for a while. And then suddenly there was some sort of crisis, so things have been a little slow lately. But they're starting to pick up now.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so business is good right now. We're getting a lot of people wanting to buy houses. If anything, the issue now is we don't have enough inventory for all the people that do want to buy houses. So it's good. I think that means that we're going to see a lot of new construction and a lot of new places being built for folks to live
I'm
in.
sure Charlotte's going to talk about inventory here, yeah.
Absolutely.
Charlotte or Colette, either.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Charlotte will too.
I'll answer to anything that starts with a C. Fine.
Great, yeah. Mike, you take it from here, whatever, yeah. Sorry, Colette, yeah.
Yes.
All right, so, what's any latest, you can't talk percentages or whatever for on the air or whatever, right? But so it's a good time to invest, right? For investors as well?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you still have a lot of great deals out there for people that want to invest in houses. And if anything, we have opportunities that we probably did not have a few years ago. Now, we're not seeing as many foreclosures as we did, but there's still a lot of great houses and great opportunities for people to buy.
Absolutely, yeah. So people want to find out more and get the best deal in town. Who would you recommend they check with?
I have a few ideas on that. And one thing I did mention, I used to work for the big evil banks. I shouldn't say that. It's a pro-business show. The fine banks, the good banks. I used to work for all the great banks out there. And the last few months, I said, enough of that. So I'm with a smaller lender now, Starkey Mortgage. And we're based here in Georgia and 5 other states in the Southeast and in Texas. So at Starkey, what I believe that we're able to offer that perhaps you don't get at other places is that a good customer service, closings that actually occur when we think they're going to occur. Wow. And so that is kind of unusual for many places where sometimes the big banks think that closing dates are just merely a suggestion. So we're good about doing that, and we're also good about a customer service and keeping the customer informed, and hopefully keep the and actually, if we can't do a deal, we'd like to tell people up front, hey, we can't do a deal.
Right.
If we can do it, then we'd like to be able to get it done. So good old-fashioned customer service.
And just nice to have that personal touch.
Absolutely.
Whatever, yeah.
And then we also have some common sense underwriting. If you go to some of the big banks, they're very straight-laced, very cookie-cutter.
Right,
and we tend to have underwriters that might think just a little bit outside the box if it's a good deal.
Well, and you can kind of customize it for that individual. So how would the listeners get in touch with you?
Well, the best way to find me is on the internet. It's a new thing. It's microsmortgage.com.
Okay.
And that's my website, and has all my contact information there as well. You can apply for a home loan on that website.
Really, right there? Just kind of pre-qualify?
Right there on the website. Absolutely.
Nice. Well, thanks again for joining us back in the studio. You just got promoted from guest to guest co-host.
I'm so excited. I'm so honored. I'm I'm so honored that you thought highly of me too.
I got one word for you, decaf, though. But yeah.
Oh, I need to tone it down a little bit.
No,
I'm just so excited. What can I tell you?
I hear you. So who do we have first up in the studio?
We have
to talk to?
John Schaffner, and John I know because back when I was actually paid to do radio many years ago, back I think 2003, 2004, I used to interview John on a regular basis. We talk about what was going on in the Atlanta scene, and John has been covering the Atlanta scene for many years. You used to write for something they used to call newspapers, right? Back in the old days.
That's correct.
I remember those things. They used to like deliver them to your houses. For you young people, that's something that was around before the internet, maybe. But I know you're very familiar with it. Longtime print journalist, but now you have your own website, correct?
That's correct. Started 3 years ago. It's called buckheadview.com. We cover only the community of Buckhead, but we cover it every day. We cover write as many as 1 to 6 stories a day on Buckhead, what's going on here. You talk about newspapers. Yeah, I started with the old mechanical typewriters and, and newspapers back in the early '60s. So,
well, I used to be a copy boy at the Atlanta Constitution back in the ancient days when you had to put things in a tube and send a picture up.
Now you only do that at banks.
That's right. That's true. I miss those days. But anyway, let's talk about what you're doing right now. I know you're covering a lot of great stories here in the metro Atlanta area, here in Buckhead specifically. We were talking about what's going on real estate, and we can talk maybe a little bit about what's going on commercial real estate-wise, because there's a lot of construction going on in Buckhead, correct?
There's a tremendous amount going on. A lot of apartment buildings are being built, but there's also, we have the very first high-rise office building broke ground the 1st of August, just a couple of days ago, right here. It's 3 Alliance Center, right over across the way over here. It will complete when it's finished the entire 3-building complex there of Alliance Center. It's going to be a 30-story office tower. Wow. 500,000 square feet of office space. I think it's pretty much being built spec at the moment, so which is interesting. And there's rumors that there's another one going up just the other side of the MARTA tracks. Regent Partners, who has built a lot around Tower Place, is at least looking at the possibility. They own a huge parking lot just on the west side of 400 by the new MARTA station, and they're talking about the possibility of breaking ground maybe this year or early next year on another office building. But there's a lot going on. I mean, it's amazing.
So this is all a good sign that we're seeing the economy turn around a little bit now?
I definitely think so, yes. I mean, everybody's got a very positive outlook, particularly here in Buckhead. As a matter of fact, right up the street here, there's an office building that has been here for ages, and that is just going to be totally remodeled. Highbrook Investment Management is taking One Live Oak Center office building right a couple of doors.
Oh yeah, a couple of doors down. Wow. They're not going to do like implosion, are they? I always wanted to see
that.
I
like that.
Right?
I always
like
that when the whole building collapses. Yeah, I love that stuff.
No, as a matter of fact, in that case, it's strictly they're just totally renovating it.
Yeah.
Whole new facade on the outside. Inside going to be totally renovated. Probably won't be finished until sometime next year.
It's right next to Terry College of Business, right?
Terry College of Business is in there.
Well, there you go.
Now, what we're also seeing is a lot of changes in the Buckhead landscape as well. A lot of the roads being changed. What's going on with all that right now?
Well, there's been a dark cloud sort of hanging over a part of Buckhead for a number of years. Basically the crossroads of what we call the crossroads of Buckhead, which is Peachtree, Roswell, Paces Ferry, because of the what happened many years ago with problems with the crime and stuff with the clubs that were in the
I remember that. I used to have a good time in those clubs. I miss those clubs actually, but that's a whole nother story.
But anyway, they decided to tear those down and build Ben Carter did, and build a super shopping center that was going to be the showcase of boutiques for the East Coast. That sat there as a hole in the ground, as you may recall, for many years.
Long time,
with a bunch of high-rise cranes over the top of it. Well, come September, we're going to see the opening of the first phase of the new development there, Buckhead, Atlanta. And not everything's going to open at once, but there will be some restaurants and retail opening at that time. And the rest will be opening between then and spring of next year. And so that's actually part of the impetus for a lot of other things. The Buckhead CID is totally revamping, or planning to totally revamp Peachtree Road, south of Piedmont, all the way down to the south end of the Peach Shopping Center on Peachtree,
Right.
and turn it into sort of a boulevard effect, like you have up here in the central business core area. But it'll be a little bit different than that. And there's been a lot of back and forth as to whether people like the idea of changing the lanes and from 3 lanes each direction to 2 or whatever. But that's still in the study, and it will be coming out in December. But in the meantime, there's also total renovation of Charlie Loudermilk Park that is going on, the Triangle Park, which is sort of the centerpiece park of Buckhead. And that's supposed to be the groundwork's supposed to be finished in October, and then the towers. There's going to be a clock tower in it. That the first part of the clock tower is supposed to be in by November, and the top put on it in December. So that all ought to be coming together. There is an art element that's supposed to be put in there that has not yet been determined, but it's part of a new public art program in Atlanta. But along with all this, there are a lot of other changes taking place. Like I just realized that One Buckhead Plaza is probably going to go on the market.
Wow.
Very shortly. Right now, that's one of the older, venerable, iconic high-rise office buildings in Buckhead.
When I was a kid, there was a Sears there.
Yeah, that's right. Sears Roebuck.
Wow.
Sears Roebuck was back there. That's right.
I missed that Sears.
And they still sold, for years, they sold Christmas trees back there.
That's
back
right.
of the lot,
That's
too.
right.
Wow.
That doesn't happen anymore. But anyway, that building is probably going to go on the market. And one of the reasons is right now it's drawing about $20 a square foot rental rates. And they figure that once Buckhead Atlanta opens up, we're talking about $30 plus a square foot. So because of the whole what's happening in that area, you got Restoration Hardware that may open in the fall. I don't know. It looks like it still has a lot of work to do, but that is one of the most incredible retail stores you're going to find anywhere. It's the largest Restoration Hardware store ever in the United States.
Projected for here in Buckhead?
Yes, it's opening. It's going to open probably this fall across the street from Buckhead, Atlanta.
Where what? The old $3 cafe or
No, it's where the old
the sports thing or Cheesecake Factory?
the sports thing.
Yeah.
ESPN Zone.
Right. Okay.
I think it's great they're doing all this. Are people actually going to be able to walk in Buckhead though, from one place to another?
Well, that's part of the other. That's part of everything too. And there's a streetscape program that's also part of all this. They're putting in all new trees along the street, along the sidewalks. They're building all new sidewalks. They're putting in planters along the sidewalks. All of this is tied into a lot of what's going on with Buckhead, Atlanta, but it's also affecting some of the side streets.
I see.
As you may recall, there's been a real problem with some of the striping that the city did on West Paces Ferry right near. They created lanes that everybody doesn't know where they're going, and
that's right. It's
and
a
they're
mess.
expecting to run over a bicyclist at any moment.
Yeah, I get confused there. I tell you.
They just need to throw in a roundabout. But we had Jim Durrett in from the Buckhead CID, and he was talking to this issue of walkability and making. I think they've made huge improvements over the short period of time. Yeah,
they have, and I happen to live 2 blocks or 3 blocks south of Buckhead, Atlanta, on Peachtree, and I look forward to walking up to up there. We walk to the grocery store and everything else all the time, and it's we moved to Atlanta or to Buckhead because of that. That's a great thing.
Now, we have an HGTV host in the studio, but HGTV has been doing some stuff here in Atlanta. What are they up to now?
Well, I think it's a great promotion thing for both Buckhead and for the Mandarin Oriental condos. Obviously, Mandarin Oriental has had some problems selling condominium units, and I think that they're really going to look out with this HGTV program, which is basically it's their Urban Oasis program.
Yeah.
And the prize this fall, is going to be a condominium unit in the Mandarin Oriental.
Nice, very
Wow.
nice.
It's a total $1 million prize apparently, because it also, the part I don't understand is if it's an urban oasis,
Right.
part of what the gift is a car. And I don't know why. I don't know why we're.
Should be a bicycle.
I don't know
shouldn't
why we're encouraging a car as part of the prize. But
They know Atlanta.
Yeah,
Everyone drives.
right. Colette will answer that question, whatever. Yeah.
But I think it's very interesting, and I think it's going to be it certainly is going to help put Atlanta and Buckhead's name on the map. You know, Atlanta's been a area that's been used a lot for some of the home improvement programs too on HD.
Right. I know about that.
And
yeah.
and all of those things really help to promote the area.
Yeah.
So, John, tell us about you. I know you have a little. You want to put in a plug for one of your favorite organizations, Livable Buckhead. For those that don't know about that, tell us a little bit about.
Well, Livable Buckhead was started, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago now, and they have some very interesting programs. But one of the things, of course, is that they are sort of the organization behind building more parks and green spaces and walkability. They're also the organization that is putting in the Path 400. That'll go all along Georgia 400 from north part of Buckhead all the way down to the south part of Buckhead, and tie in eventually with the Beltline path.
Right.
But they're a great organization, but they're also very heavily into sustainability.
Right.
And they, for instance, also are the group that's behind the once a year they do the collection of those hard to get rid of items.
Oh, yeah.
And that's coming up again, incidentally, in October. You can read that story on Buckhead View. I've already posted it as to when that's coming up. But they're having an event on the 28th. It's primarily for people who do leasing and manage commercial buildings and that. But it's basically all about how these buildings can be made more sustainable, and how that can be worked into rental agreements
Right.
between the owners and the tenants and stuff. So I think it's a great thing. You can sign up for it through Livable Buckhead, livablebuckhead.org, I believe it is. It costs $25 for Livable Buckhead members and $30 for non-members. Anyway,
Nice. Well, that's good stuff. Whatever. So, and it was great having you back here in the
there's
studio.
one other thing that
Okay.
I'd like to mention that,
Sure.
That hasn't really come to the forefront yet, but it will, and I just wanted to let our listeners know about it. You may remember the battle that took place about a year or two ago between Fuqua Development and the neighborhoods down in South Buckhead in the Lindbergh area, Lindbergh Center area. Well, guess what? It's about to come back.
Oh, really?
Ooh, I love a good neighborhood battle. Yeah.
So that's stay tuned or whatever.
Stay
That's
tuned.
a teaser for our next episode. Yeah.
Drama.
Yeah. John, thanks for being here again. So tell our listeners what's the best way to reach out and get in touch with you.
Just if you remember the name Buckhead View, which shouldn't be too
Right.
difficult, you can send me emails at buckheadview at gmail.com.
Cool.
Also, we put out a Wednesday newsletter.
Right.
That,
I'm on the list.
Yep. And we try to keep people informed of what the top 5 stories we figure for the week, or 6 or 7 were. And they can email me, and we'll put them on the list for that. And you can also sign up on the website, which is buckheadview.com, for daily brief updates.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. So, hang out. If we have time, we may interject some additional conversation, especially with representatives from the BBA here.
Good.
But up next, we have Jake.
An organization that I'm very active in.
Absolutely, I know. Big time. Up next, we have Jake Sherrill joining us in the studio with Tier 4 Advisors. So, Jake, welcome back to the show.
Rich, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into what Tier 4 is all about. So, are you originally from where?
Yeah, originally from California.
Okay.
Spent most of my life out there, and then by way of Scottsdale, Arizona for a while.
Nice.
And career change moved me out to Atlanta, Georgia, and love being out here.
Nice. What part of California?
Up north, Sacramento.
Yeah, I was in Fresno in the geographic center of the state. Yeah, he's nodding his head. Yeah, you drove through there, right? Everybody drives through Fresno. Yeah,
the armpit of California.
Exactly. No, that's Bakersfield. Yeah.
Fresno.
That's like
it's all the same.
Okay, we're going to get
the
into
same.
Alabama and Georgia, Tennessee pretty quick.
boy.
Yeah, hold off on that. Okay, so welcome to. How long have you been in Atlanta now?
Going on 5 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you're sticking around. So tell us a little bit about Tier 4 Advisors. But I mean, this whole thing of cloud computing. Do you ever feel like that's been the buzzword? And I think the average civilian has a little general concept about it. But tell us about it.
Yeah, so Tier 4 Advisors, I founded it last March on the premise of helping people procure IT services. And most of those people don't necessarily know what they're doing when they go out and try and buy these different things that they need for business.
Right.
So one of the things that I found by being in the business for years now is, when people go out and look for the best business strategy, here again, they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So in other places of business or other lines of business, there are subject matter experts that help guide people down these different paths of what they should be doing. There wasn't necessarily that subject matter expert in the IT business here in the Atlanta market. So we identified a little bit of a niche that we could carve out and play in, and that's what Tier 4 Advisors does, is help with the procurement of different IT services and what is cloud computing. Back to your question. You asked 100 people what cloud computing is, you get 110 different answers.
Right, nice.
So, but that's it's a fun business to be in. It's changing almost daily, if not hourly.
Right, yeah.
And we got to stay on top of our game for sure.
Yeah, by the time this show's over, there'll be some new additions or changes or whatever. Yeah, we had a gentleman in a while back, a guest, talking about SME. He was a SME. I'm like, what's a SME? So it's a term I just learned, subject matter expert. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about doing a show, SME radio, but I don't know. That's for. So tell us about hosted calling solutions and elaborate on that.
So a lot of people, for the last 50, 80 years, you're talking about businesses that would, take a phone line and plug it into the wall.
Right.
Things are changing now. You can make a phone call from Buckhead to Tokyo, Japan, and it's a lot different than maybe what it was even 5 years ago, certainly 10, 20 years ago, where you'd have to go through a different, operator switch, things like that. So, when you start talking about hosted calling solutions, you're talking about outsourcing everything from something that is on-prem or on-premise, in your office itself. You got to worry about whether or not it's going to work. You got to worry about what we call uptime or downtime. You can relate to that in the radio business. Cost of downtime is something that a lot of people are talking about. So when you're talking about hosted calling, it's just another form of outsourcing your IT infrastructure to a company that's all they do for they're specialists in that area.
Right.
Rather than you having maybe an IT person or a group of IT people who are kind of jack of all trades, so to speak.
So someone looking for IT services, what are some pointers or tips or challenges, I guess, of procuring that, an IT specialist or services?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, again, Tier 4 Advisors, we don't sell anything. We don't actually sell any services. We don't sell
hardware or software or anything?
No, we don't sell hardware. We don't sell phones. We don't sell a cloud computing solution. We don't do any of that. So
the operative word there is advisors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're an outsourced procurement agency. So essentially people come to us and say, this is what I'm looking for. We have a group of hundreds of different providers in our network worldwide.
Wow.
So whether that need is here locally or somewhere internationally, we actually can help you find the right fit for what it is you're looking for. And we might start with 3 or 5 different providers.
Right.
But we'll help you whittle that down to the person that fits right for what it is you're looking for.
So kind of that blend of a broker and an advisor, yeah.
Right. Now, you've told us a little bit about what Tier 4 Advisors does and who you are. Who's your customer? Who are you going after? You're going after a major corporation, medium-sized business, or some small-time entrepreneur just getting started? Who's your customer?
Yeah, so historically we've gone after kind of that medium to Fortune 500 type client. We have a lot of value in those accounts. But the reason I'm here today, quite frankly, and what we're looking at doing with some recent hires that we've had, and through some quite frankly recent success that we've had as an organization, is we're starting to go after more of that small business client.
I see.
So hopefully some of the listeners that might be listening today. But we do a lot of media. We do a lot of here again Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 space type clients. We play well in the healthcare space. We play well in the accountant, attorney, kind of law firm space, things like that. So
yeah, a lot of people who are in business, they have IT. They don't really understand it. They don't know what's going on. They depend on people like you to kind of tell them what's going on. And if you're in a situation, you've had the same IT equipment for a long time, a lot of the same gear. It sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. How do you know when you're supposed to replace it versus just fix it? How do you know?
Yeah, so historically, the business people have, quite frankly, hated the IT side of the business.
Yes, that's true.
And
Nothing personal.
No, but it's true. And that's one of the funny things about this niche is that you've got IT people who are historically overworked.
Overpaid?
Not overpaid.
I think that was okay.
But
we got the
overworked.
truth now.
So overworked, underpaid.
Oh, okay.
And underappreciated.
I see.
And so the IT people are sitting here saying to themselves, why am I even here? To a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going back all the time asking for budget because, hey, this is what we need as a business.
Yeah.
The business people are looking at them saying, these guys keep asking for money. What is it that they need? And a lot of these projects, if they're done correctly in the IT space, have no visibility whatsoever. If they're done incorrectly, everyone knows about it. So the people who actually do their job well in the IT space oftentimes get no credit at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things that...
Particularly things are working. No one has... there's no complaints.
It's expectation,
yeah,
right? So you're like,
absolutely.
I flip the switch, it's going to...
You only
I'm
hear
good to
from
go.
people when it's not working.
Correct. And that's the point. At the end of the day, the child that's screaming the loudest gets the most attention.
That's me.
Yes. Me as well. But, when it comes time to do a refresh, when it comes time to look at some different technologies, when it comes time to have some different strategies, unfortunately, it's the businesses that sometimes have the most pain that are actually making the switch or looking at doing some other things. So, it's an interesting business to be a part of.
Well, from a business standpoint, you don't want to spend the money unless you absolutely have to. So it's always kind of that battle back and forth. It doesn't work, and then you guys are saying, well, if you spend enough money to make it work, it would work. And then the business people are saying, well, just make it work the way it is. I don't have to spend any more money. That's kind of the battle that
and return on investment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and who gets excited about infrastructure? For even with development, right? People are excited about brand new 30-story buildings, but who's excited about the infrastructure underneath the dirt, underneath the roads, things like, or even the roads themselves. So, it's just one of those things that
I'm interested in the roads when I ride over them. I have potholes over there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So,
well, Jake, why don't you tell folks who are listening how they can get a hold of you and specifically who you can help right now?
Yeah, so again, we'd love to talk with small business to medium-sized business people who are looking at possibly re-signing contracts in the data center or telecom space. Anything that you might need help with procurement, whether it's IT professional services, security services, infrastructure services, whatever it might be, we'd love to be a part of that conversation.
Well, great.
Our website is Tier 4. That's TIER, the number 4 advisors plural.com. And we're based here in Atlanta, so love to talk with people over the phone or face to face.
Excellent. Well, we've honored to have you here in the studio with us, hang out with us. We might have some IT questions before the end of the show.
You bet.
So far, everything's working fine. Whatever.
Well, I don't know.
We're
but,
going to give credit to Jake for that until things go wrong, right?
Okay. We'll talk to you later. If things start to break, we'll be back in touch.
Good. That works.
We also have with us this morning in the studio Colette McDonald, who some of you might know because she's a big TV star as well as a real estate agent, one of the number one RE/MAX agent around Atlanta, realtor in 2013. She knows Brookhaven, one of the big agents in Brookhaven, Buckhead, Sandy Springs, Decatur, Dunwoody. She's the official realtor of the Atlanta Falcons football franchise. I have to find out more about that.
Yeah.
Can you get me some tickets? That's what
No.
Darn it. And of course, she's also been featured on HGTV, My First Place, Designed to Sell, and Bang for the Buck in Atlanta, Birmingham, Savannah, and Charleston. You certainly get around, don't you? You're a busy person.
I am, yes.
Wow. Well, we brought you here today because we primarily want to talk about Buckhead and Brookhaven and what's going on in the market currently. Can you give us, because I'm in the mortgage business, so I got a feel for it also, but tell us from your perspective what's going on in the Buckhead, Brookhaven market, particularly in new construction and existing homes, because it's been my experience, and maybe you have a different one, is that there are a lot of people out there that want to buy houses, but there are not as many houses to buy now.
Well, I'll piggyback on what you were saying earlier, that
Yeah.
the market is strong. I think over the last 14 to 18 months, we've seen a huge change in our market, obviously. We came out from one of the worst recessions that we've ever seen. Even when they look at the numbers, we were worse than the Depression in the housing market. So to come out of that, last year, we felt like, oh, the sun is shining, everything's great. We had low supply, foreclosures had dried up, short sales are drying up. And buyers, there's a pent-up demand for
Yes, there is.
housing. People are excited to buy again. They see it as the American dream. And when we look at the niche markets like Brookhaven and Buckhead, it's exciting to see the median price point increasing as well. This year, I've seen a little bit of a subtle shift, I would say. I'm not seeing... Last year, 14 months ago, we saw a huge bang. Now we're seeing a subtle shift. We're seeing that sellers are putting their homes on the market. And one of my things that I like to do for my sellers is I like to push the price point. My job as their real estate advisor is to get them the highest price possible in the least amount of time and the fewest amount of hassles. So what I do is I analyze that market and I say, what can we do to get that highest price? 18 months ago, I was struggling because I still had to worry about appraisal values, as you well know.
Oh, yes. Very familiar with appraisals.
As you well know.
Yes.
Nowadays, we can actually look at what things have sold for, go ahead and push it through different types of marketing activities, but specifically making those homes as valuable as possible with renovations and updates. And sellers are starting to see that 14 months ago, we were pushing that price. Nowadays, we're looking at that price point, still trying to push that price point a little bit, but buyers are starting to figure it out.
Oh, they're getting smart now.
We still have multiple offer situations.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. If a house is priced right, it will sell quickly and it will sell within that first week. However, if a seller is trying to push it a little bit, depending upon their motivation, we're seeing a few more days on the market, and that's just over the last 60 days. When you look at the Case-Shiller numbers, they'll tell you what the Q2 second quarter numbers look like, and they're still increasing, but they're starting to level off a little bit. You're not seeing those huge spikes.
Yeah.
If we look at where the market is today compared to 2007, the height of the market, we're only 20 points off from where we were at.
Well, historically, you would see a 4% increase in value every year. Are we getting back to what normal is?
Last year, and I'll give you one specific example, 30319, okay?
Right.
That is Brookhaven. Brookhaven's seen a huge increase in values. People want to live there, being a new city. It's got a lot of great things to offer. We increased by 14% in a 12-month time period.
Wow.
Just in that zip code.
Wow.
We're seeing the same thing in Buckhead.
Right.
That type of increase. Anytime you see that type of increase, as you well know,
Yeah.
you have to be concerned about a bubble.
Yes, absolutely.
And we don't want another bubble, obviously.
no.
But the great thing about Metro Atlanta is we are huge. So we have the offset of Brookhaven, Buckhead, very, very strong markets. And then you go out to the peripheral markets, Smyrna, Sandy Springs, Roswell, Alpharetta. You go up to Cumming, you go up to out to Douglasville, you go up to Sugarloaf. These things start to level off, and you see a much more realistic type of acceleration in prices. Anytime we as a metro area see double-digit increases like that, you have to be concerned.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
red flag.
maybe not realistic. Are you finding, because this is what I'm finding, is that Buckhead and Brookhaven, this part of town is sort of leading the way. And that the
Absolutely.
rest of Metro Atlanta is starting to catch up, but this is where it's really kind of centering right now.
Well, and I look at that as that is natural because Buckhead and Brookhaven, in particular, the center of the metro universe, I like to say, is the place you want to live because of the infrastructure that we offer. Not only jobs, but transportation, parks, entertainment. It's livable.
Yeah.
When you go outside the perimeter, and I love my OTP clients.
Yes.
I happen to be an ITPer myself,
Yep.
and I'll sell you OTP all day long. But when you look at over the next 20 years and what you're really seeing as development for Atlanta, we had a huge amount of sprawl the past 20 years. We are now seeing transportation nightmares like LA. We are seeing people sitting on the roads, Snowmageddon, Ice-mageddon.
Yep.
They were on for days.
Yep.
People don't want that anymore. They're coming inside the perimeter so that they can have that live, work, play.
Right.
They can have that quality of life. And that's why you're seeing Buckhead and Brookhaven and the inside the perimeter type of subdivisions increasing at values at a pace that can't be
I think the issue
matched.
for most people, particularly when they have kids, is getting the most bang for their buck, and that's why people move out to Dunwoody and Alpharetta, is because they feel like with the money that they spend, they're getting a lot more. Particularly when they have families, they have the swim tennis communities. How does the value of Buckhead, Brookhaven measure up against some of the suburban communities? I know traffic is always the problem, and that's the big issue.
And you're absolutely right. When you're looking at, I like to tell people this all the time, it's delayed gratification, right?
Oh, I don't like that.
Don't tell that to
I
me.
know.
Yeah. No.
You can move OTP and you can move in these great subdivisions, these
Right.
great communities, and it all depends on what your lifestyle is.
Yeah.
Johns Creek, for example, is the wealthiest subdivision of all Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay? That is a fantastic place to live. But you usually, when you look at the demographics of Johns Creek, there's one person working and one person staying home. That's the demographics.
It's a lifestyle question at that
You
point.
have to
Yeah.
figure that out. If you want to live in this community of Buckhead or Brookhaven, you usually have two people working.
Yep.
You might be sending your kids to private school.
Yep.
However, I will say
Schools
the
are
city
improving
of
in this area.
Atlanta
Schools are getting a lot better now.
and
Yeah.
Brookhaven in particular, they're the top-rated schools.
Yeah.
in the
Particularly in
area.
the city of Atlanta. In Buckhead, you got Sarah Smith, which is excellent.
You
and then
got
you have the
Brandon,
The
you got
Ashford Park
Jackson.
School is getting a lot better in Brookhaven, isn't
Ashford Park is
It getting-
okay.
it? Yeah.
But when you look at the Montgomery Elementary School
Yeah.
feeding into the Chambly Middle and the Chambly High, those
Right.
are all magnet programs for DeKalb County.
Right.
So they're fantastic places to live. Then you've got Jackson, you've got Brandon, you've got Sarah Smith. But I also want to mention, Georgia has a lot of great private schools as well right in this area. So you've got
Certainly.
such great opportunity that you can choose whichever one you want to go to, public or private. Either one you'll do great. Will you have a brand new house for $400,000?
No.
No.
No. There's always a pro and con. There's always when I talk to new home buyers who you always run into the people, and I'm sure you do, they have the champagne taste with the beer budget.
Absolutely.
And so you have to be realistic, and no matter what you do, there's going to be a compromise
well,
of some
and,
sort.
and like what
That's the
Jake
same
was
in every
talking,
business.
right,
Absolutely.
what Jake was talking
Yeah.
about
As
was
an
like
advisors, yeah.
setting expectations, right? The Today
Right.
Show had something about the key to happiness, scientific results today. The key to happiness is setting expectations properly.
It's true of every aspect of life, isn't it?
Exactly,
Well, let me talk to you about something that I'm really interested in. That's the Atlanta Falcons. What's your relationship with them?
2 years ago, Remax Regional, the brokerage firm that I work for,
Right.
decided that they wanted to, and that's one of the reasons I love Remax, and that's where I hold my license, is because they really understand branding, local market branding. And they became a sponsor for the Atlanta Falcons. And part of that sponsorship was that the Falcons wanted a couple of agents to represent not only their players, but also their office workers as their agents for the market.
Do they need mortgages too? I have to ask.
Yes, and when we talk about those evil big banks, the SunTrust is one of their
Oh,
others.
well,
Sorry.
but SunTrust can't do everything. I mean, they're a
Yeah.
fine organization.
Well, and back to your point, we'll talk about that later, but I would like to piggyback on the fact that if you are getting a mortgage, you definitely need someone local.
Absolutely.
Because I have to knock heads together every day when I'm going to a closing. There's
Yeah.
always a problem. And if I
Absolutely.
can call mic up versus some 800 number,
Yeah.
I'm going to get it done.
Totally agree with that.
Buyers need to understand that. If they can take that away from anything, the real estate market is very fast and fluid, and the money is so important. And if you miss that closing date, so many headaches, so much heartache. And if you're with one of these huge operations and not working with someone local like Mike, you're going to have problems.
I think that's important. I was making fun of the big banks, but I know a lot of good people that do work for the big banks.
Me too.
And if you do need to get a loan from a big bank, make sure at the very least you're not calling the 800 number, because that will be a disaster for you.
You need
get
to have
somebody
that local. That local presence is so important. But back to me.
The most important thing.
Sorry, I got off on you. What was I thinking?
I know.
Anyway, so back to the Falcons relationship.
Yes.
So they interviewed over 50 agents. We've got over 500 with RE/MAX, and they chose me to represent their interests here closer to the Metro Center, and we have another agent that represents their interests more out in the Flowery Branch area. So part of that relationship is getting to go to all these great organizational events and
fun?
training camps
congratulations
and
on that. I mean, that's
university.
huge.
It is huge, and
Yeah.
and the one thing that I love about it is real estate is so local. It is a relationship
personal,
building, networking, and the Falcons, the franchise itself. I am so impressed with how they get out in the community, and they're really part of our community. So it's a great relationship, and I'm very excited about it.
I'm just hoping they have a better year this year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, last year that was a disaster.
The new word is rise up real estate.
I like that. We might have to use that one.
Easy there, PR people. She's writing it down. Now I was going to buy that domain name. Yeah. So we talked about schools and we talked about Brookhaven. And speaking of Brookhaven, you were one of the founding members.
I was. And in my life, I like to be involved in a lot of different political and community ventures, very much like John over here. I've known him for a while as well. And I got involved because I was part of DeKalb County's, both on the Board of Zoning Appeals as well as the Planning Commission. And I saw a lot of the deficiencies that unincorporated DeKalb had, and also working with Dunwoody when they became a city, and Sandy Springs when they became a city. And it just made sense. So I sat on the Citizens for North DeKalb, which was the group of concerned citizens that went out with the Carl Vinson Institute, raised the funds to ensure that we had the viability to become a city. And I worked with Mike Jacobs and J. Max Davis and all the folks to make sure that we could push this forward and get the amount of votes that we needed to become a city. And I'm happy to say I am so excited. Brookhaven is so great to live in. We have 5 parks. We have over 54,000 people. It's actually the largest city within Metro Atlanta. We have a diverse cross-section of people who live there. Our demographics are amazing. We have the commercial infrastructure to support it. Brookhaven's somewhere to watch.
Actually, I really have been watching very closely the development of Brookhaven, because I actually covered all the meetings leading up to the actual incorporation for the Dunwoody Crier newspaper for Dick Williams. So,
Right.
And now Dick Williams, his wife Rebecca, took my place on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and she's now our commissioner for our district.
That's
How about that?
Yeah.
And somebody was saying they live in Brookhaven. I thought somebody said.
I used to live in Brookhaven,
They said
but I
it
used
was
to
like
live
a
everywhere.
mile.
Yeah.
That was our earlier show. Actually, we had an attorney
Yeah.
in. It was just like a mile and a half from the studio. So it's kind of
Well,
like
we're a sister city to Buckhead.
that's
We're
well,
like.
why not just, a lot of people just call it Buckhaven, right? Why not
I
just
like
call it
that idea.
Buckhaven.
Let's start that too. Rise up
Buckhaven.
real estate.
well, a lot of
Buckhaven.
people don't realize, but there's a part of Brookhaven that is actually part of Buckhead.
Yeah.
It's
Historic Brookhaven.
Historic
Okay, yeah.
Brookhaven is part of Buckhead.
And let me tell you, that was not fun going to Capital City and having those meetings with those folks
That's
and
right.
asking to use the name. That was not fun.
Because we're just a community. We're not a city. But I think it covers like some 36 square miles is Buckhead itself, whatever, yeah. Somewhere in
28
that
square
28,
miles.
yeah. Okay. So meanwhile, talk to us about back to RE/MAX, and you have a mobile app that's now available?
We do. You
What's-
can download our mobile app, and you can actually go to my website, ColetteMcDonald.com.
Nice.
And
Okay.
you can grab that app. It's really cool because you can actually see where you're working and determine from there what you would like your commute to be. So if you want to only be 20 minutes from your job,
Right.
you can put your job in that location, and then it will actually map out areas that you can live in if that's your most important
Right.
item.
So helps you
that's
kind of
cool.
scout it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That
It's a
is
cool
really
app.
neat.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's Colette McDonald, not Charlotte or
Not
Cindy.
Charlotte
What was I
or
calling you?
Colleen.
Right, yeah. Charlene. Yeah.
COLL.
Need a more southern name, Charlene.
Yeah, exactly.
So finish up with us in this last moment here on the lighter side. So talk to us about your experiences hosting HGTV shows and yeah.
Well, I got my start because I fired a client on air.
Really?
Oh, good.
Absolutely. It was
That's
a
good.
lot of fun.
So
you
that's
could
what we
actually,
need to do.
Yeah,
Mike, you're fired. Yeah.
I'll see you later. Bye.
no, it would have to be a client, not a
Okay.
co-host.
Oh,
Never
okay.
mind.
I can't be fired.
That's just much more exciting.
Yeah.
No, it was actually my first place, and I actually have a background in radio, TV, film, and
I can tell.
speech. Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to be a television anchor until I found out how little they made, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
decided, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
A little more capitalistic.
Yeah,
in my,
I don't
my
blame you.
background and my
So
core.
what shows have you hosted or been involved
My
in?
first place, Bang for Your Buck,
Okay.
and Design to Sell. And a little known fact, Bang for Your Buck is hosted by Vern Yip, and you might see Vern at Design Star and different places.
Yeah.
He's actually a Buckhead resident.
I know he's in Atlanta, so
Yeah.
here in Buckhead. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the cool people live in Buckhead,
All the
apparently.
cool
Yeah.
people.
All very hip people.
Okay, so tell us once again for our listeners, what's the best way to reach out and get in touch with you?
ColetteMcDonald.com, just my name, COLLETTE. McDonald, like the golden arches.
Yeah. And 3 E's and 2 T's.
Yeah, no H.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Thanks for being here. And so we'll see how time permits if we have some interesting additional table conversation here. But up next, we have an interesting guest here that's been just anxiously waiting in your seat. And welcome back to the show. Smitha, how are you doing so far?
Thank you. I'm doing great. How
You
are you?
enjoying all this talk about Buckhead?
Yeah, I love it.
Right? I mean, you're kind of the very involved in Buckhead, obviously. As your title is executive director at the BBA?
Correct.
Yeah.
I've been with the association since January.
Okay.
And I've been loving it. It's
Oh yeah,
great.
yeah, it's a great organization. So before we get into what's going on with the BBA, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you originally from? How long are you here in Atlanta? And yeah,
So I'm actually born and raised in Georgia. I've
Okay.
been here my whole entire life.
right.
I went to Georgia State University, and I've been in Buckhead for the past 7 years.
Okay.
I have an association and an event management background, which brought me to the Buckhead Business Association in January.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was going to ask you what was your background prior to that. Or whatever. Yeah. So a lot of family here as well, and
Actually, I'm here on my own. My
Oh,
family
okay.
lives in England.
oh, okay, nice. Yeah, they've been over a few times, or
Yes.
nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, next time they're over, we'll bring them into the studio.
Absolutely.
Say hi.
Yeah.
So tell us about this is a lot of people may not, if they're not familiar with the Taste of Buckhead, it's not the first year that you guys have done this, right?
It's not. Actually, we've been doing this for 10 years. We'll have our 10th annual Taste of Buckhead this September 18th.
Okay.
In the past, it's actually been a business expo and taste event, but this is the first year that we're doing a full restaurant and beverage tasting in this format.
Okay.
And we're actually having Gas South as our presenting sponsor, so we're really excited about that.
Okay, what are they going to be cooking up? They're going to be cooking up with gas, I guess, or yeah.
A lot of restaurants use
$10,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice, exactly. Yeah, that's what they're cooking up with. Yeah. So, so this and the venue, where is it going to be held?
it will be at the Buckhead Theater
Okay.
again on September 18th.
Okay. And so, how many restaurants are involved? What can we expect if we're buying a ticket? Or
So we will have 20 of Buckhead's finest restaurants providing samples of their food. We'll also have samples of wines, craft beers, cocktails, and we'll also have some celebrity chef demonstrations.
really?
There will also be a fabulous silent auction in which you can help the Buckhead community, and you can bid on restaurant certificates, spa packages. We'll also have a spectacular wine wall, which will have valuable $100 bottles of wine where people can purchase
like
those
that.
as well.
Just-
yeah.
just
so
a
it'll
whole-
be great. It'll
just
be a
sounds
great food and wine experience.
Just a whole wall of wine or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hard to know where to start on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
A
We may
wall.
need to get started today. When we have to finish it by when? We have to finish all that wine by September 18th.
All right.
All right, we'll give it our best shot. So, so who are some of the any new restaurants joining you this year that weren't involved in the past, or any upstarts or?
Yeah, so we have F&B involved, Restaurant Eugene. We have Here to Serve Restaurants.
Right.
Also Buckhead Life. They're all participating in
Nice,
the
nice,
event
yeah.
this year.
And so now, will they have to buy attendees buying tickets? How does that work as far as food and or beverage, or just attending, or?
So we actually have $50 general admission tickets right now.
Okay.
We also have VIP tickets, which were $75 that are available to the first 100 registrants.
Okay.
And this ticket actually gives you samples to all of the restaurants and beverage sponsors. So you don't have to purchase individual tickets after you get to the event. So there are no additional charges.
Doesn't buy you a $100 bottle of wine, though.
Not included for legal reasons. We have to say that or whatever. Yeah.
We're not getting bottles of wine because we're having them on the show today, right?
That sounds good to
I
me.
think that's a
whatever,
good idea.
Yeah,
I
you
think
can-
that
you can
I think I could use a bottle of wine. pretty
Yeah,
soon,
you can stick around. Yeah.
All right.
So now, where do they get the tickets? I guess or.
So tickets can be purchased online at tasteofbuckhead.org,
Okay.
or you could visit our website at buckheadbusiness.org, and we have tickets on sale there as well.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about the silent auction. I mean, what do you have some of people that already signed on as donors or prizes or what?
Yeah, so there's a new project going on between Buckhead Heritage and Livable Buckhead. Well, they'll have interpretive signage around the city, and so all proceeds for the silent auction will go to them.
Okay.
All right, you've talked a little bit about this event, but what is the Buckhead Business Association, and what are some of the other events that you do in the community?
Yeah, so we're an association here in Buckhead, and we unite all aspects of business, government, the community, all with a common vision of the future vitality of the greater Buckhead area. So we do weekly breakfast meetings, monthly socials. We also do quarterly luncheons, all for the community to be engaged.
Okay, and who can be a member? Who are the members of the Buckhead Business Association?
So our association has about 325 members, and it's anyone who does business in Buckhead or who has a Buckhead office. And if you'd like to join, you could visit our Buckhead website, which is buckheadbusiness.org. And my contact information is also on that website, so I can give you more information if you just shoot me an email.
So if someone's listening right now and they want to get involved, that's the best way to get involved at this point, would you say? Go to the website. Is there any other specific events coming up that besides the ones you mentioned already that they may want to get involved in?
So we actually have the CEO of the Atlanta Hawks who is coming to our BBA breakfast in 2 weeks. It's actually on August 14th. We are inviting all visitors, any guests, so it's not only a member-only event, and tickets are only $10.
Great.
And that's at the City Club right out our window right here,
Yep,
right?
right
You
outside
can see it
City
right from
Club,
here.
Buckhead.
You can see it from the studio. So you have the weekly breakfast there, but then what is it? One Thursday of the month you do an after hours. Which is that?
Correct.
The
So
third?
it's the third Thursday of
Yeah.
each month. And this month, it'll be at Boneheads in Buckhead, and they recently opened in February.
Nice. So what's new on the horizon for the association, or any new? What's the next big event besides the Taste of Buckhead?
So our Taste of Buckhead is actually that's our
That's the
biggest
premiere.
event for
That's
this
the
year.
big thing.
We actually just got done with our signature luncheon last week when we had this executive vice president of Home Depot come to speak
Right.
to our group. So it was a really great event.
And who's speaking this Thursday at the breakfast?
So we
Oh yeah.
we actually have someone from
Elevon.
sorry.
This is the woman that heads up global work for a company called Elevon.
As the founder, or no? Just
She's not the founder, but she heads up the programs
group.
and
Executive
the,
vice president.
Yeah,
executive
yeah.
vice president.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to a number of them. They're always very. Great speaker. You had. Have you had was the president of the College Football Hall of Fame? Is it John?
Yes.
I don't know if he was at an event, but also there's a great networking and breakfast. I mean, it's a great event. So what else? Anything else going on that we need to know about? You're going to hang out here for a while in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'll be here, and we purchase tickets. We have ticket sales going on right now. We are increasing ticket prices on September 1st, so we really encourage everyone to purchase tickets, and we hope to see you all there.
Get them now while they're hot, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Before they sell out, right?
Right, yeah.
Or can it sell out? I'm not sure.
And there's also the BBA has a tremendous opportunity for businesses to actually promote themselves because they can buy a sponsorship for a month of the BBA breakfast meetings. It's fairly inexpensive, and it's a great way. You get in each of those meetings, you get the chance to get up in the beginning of the meeting and give about a 5-minute or so presentation on what your business does, and it's I've done it twice now myself for Buckhead View. So
How long
That's
have you
great.
How long have you been in the association?
Oh, God, probably 10, 12 years.
Oh, really?
At least
Wow.
a dozen years, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, we want to thank everyone for being here this morning. Another edition in the can, so to speak, for Buckhead Business Association Radio. We just changed the name of the show.
You haven't changed your name yet.
Yeah,
have you?
exactly. I'm still sticking with Rich Casanova.
Okay,
Mike,
good.
thanks for being here.
Thank
We'll
you.
see everybody again next week.